Welcome back to Secrets of the East, the Kyuk Yurok Revelations. All throughout this series, we've quoted from the mysterious writings of Namsago, the Korean prophet whose words echo across centuries. But today, we ask a different question. How did he speak? Not in plain speech, not in modern language, but in a code, a sacred language of symbols, riddles, animals, numbers, and metaphors. He called it the language of heaven. And according to Kyuk Yurok, only those with clean hearts and clear minds would be able to understand it when the time came. That time may be now. Let's begin with this verse. The plum tree shall bloom in winter, the river shall burn, the fox shall speak like a man, the iron bird shall cry. At first glance, it sounds nonsensical, but when you break it down symbolically, it becomes eerily familiar. Plum tree blooms in winter. Something unnatural occurs, something beautiful but out of season, possibly a symbol of sudden or premature change. River burns. Could this refer to pollution, war, or environmental collapse? Fox speaks like a man, a deceptive force or government pretending to be just. Iron bird cries, an airplane, possibly a bomber or warplane. Namsago wasn't trying to confuse people. He was encoding truths in symbolic language, like a spiritual cipher. He often used animals to represent nations or powers: tiger, Korea; dragon, China; fox, Japan; eagle, America; wolf, communism or deceptive forces; crane, the pure-hearted, the spiritually awakened. Why animals? Because in traditional East Asian thought, animals embody spiritual forces. They're not just metaphors. They represent cosmic energies, virtues, and flaws. He also used colors to signal meaning: white, purity, Korea, but also mourning; red, war, bloodshed, communism; black, chaos, the unknown, destruction; gold, enlightenment, truth, and divine wisdom. In one line he writes, "When the black sun rises and the white mountain cracks, the golden eye will open." What could that mean? Black sun, an eclipse, nuclear detonation, a time of darkness. White mountain cracks, a sacred place, broken, possibly symbolic of Korea's inner division. Golden eye opens, the emergence of spiritual truth or divine insight. Again, these aren't just poetic lines. They are codes, meant to be unlocked by intuition, timing, and spiritual readiness. Namsago also employed numbers, which appear repeatedly in the Kyuk Yurok. The number 3 shows up in the 3 winds, the 3 signs, and 3 calls, possibly meaning stages of awakening or trials. The number 7 is used to describe completion and divine cycles. The number 9 is associated with finality and rebirth. In one passage he writes, "In the 7th cycle of the Iron Age, the 9th voice will speak, and the mountain will bow." Some interpreters connect this to modern timeframes, seeing cycles as decades or generations, and the voice as a person or movement. But here's what Namsago warned repeatedly. Do not read with eyes of flesh. Read with the fire of your heart. What is hidden is not for scholars, but for the child who believes. In other words, this isn't about academic analysis. It's about spiritual intuition. Now, this symbolic language has a long tradition in ancient texts. The book of Revelation in the Bible is filled with beasts, horns, scrolls, and numbers. The I Ching, Book of Changes, speaks in hexagrams and elemental change. Even Nostradamus used riddles and imagery to cloak his visions. Namsago was part of this lineage, but his focus was the East and the spiritual mission of Korea in the last days. He believed language itself had power, and that the true messages of heaven were too holy for direct speech. That's why he wrote in layers. so the arrogant would dismiss it as nonsense, and the humble would find the treasure. Here's a final line for today. The bell of truth is silent, yet all who listen can hear it. It does not ring in the temple, but in the chest. This is the heart of heaven's language, not in words, but in resonance, not in doctrines, but in vibration. And those who recognize the symbols, those who feel their truth in the bones, are the ones who are already awakening.